Aristotle back in the day said that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. And you need to develop excellent habits in order to become an excellent person. And let's start at the very basics. Let's define what a habit is. It's when a conscious decision to do something becomes an automatic behavior. You don't even have to think about it. You already have lots of habits. You may not realize how hardwired they are into your brain, but about 40% of everything you do is just a habit. And so there's this nice little cycle of habits where you've got a reminder or a cue, something that happens that you're like, oh, okay, now I need to do this habit. There's the routine that you go through, and then there's the reward. Whether it's eating a piece of cheese at the end of a maze or having coffee after you brewed the coffee, your brain is expecting some sort of benefit or reward, which is part of why it kind of on autopilot goes through these habits. And so Gandhi said that your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So I think it makes sense to spend some time in that habit section of that chain and try to get you all set up with a better destiny. Sound good? So you are the architect of your life, and you get to build its foundation and choose what goes into your life. And daily habits, well, they kind of act like dominoes, where you can just kind of tip one over, and then they're all going to fall. And that's one of the many amazing things about the science and kind of momentum around habits. So there's this concept of having a keystone habit, which acts like the first domino in the chain. And I'll encourage you to think about what are the habits you already have. And we'll talk more about how you can stack other habits on top of them in order to get your body and your brain used to doing new things. Every time we see the water slide, we're going to have to take a drink. And that's because drinking water is definitely my keystone habit. And I know it's in the presentation at least 5 times. So the degree of difficulty to do positive habits is pretty low. The return on that investment of your overall quality of life, not just in the short term, but between now and however many years you get to live, the habits you adopt now can have a tremendously positive or honestly negative impact depending on what it is you're doing on a daily or weekly basis. So you are much more likely to act yourself into feeling something than to feel your way into acting. Just think about every time you snoozed your alarm in bed and how hard it is to get out of bed in the morning. All right. So you, in some senses, need to be prepared to trick your brain to start doing something because you know that you've committed to what a minimum acceptable day is and you want to do this thing. So you need to figure out ways to set up your environment and your kind of mental wiring to be able to do things. So here's a little bit of chemistry lesson with the concept of activation energy. So if you think about going into your kitchen right now and there's 10 dirty dishes, washing that first dish is pretty hard. That takes a significant amount of activation energy. You got to pull your sleeves up, you got to turn the water on, you got to get the sponge, you got to put some soap on the sponge, and you got to start washing. After you've washed that first dish, how hard is it to wash the second dish? Or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth? And the secret here is that when you're aware of instances when you're using your activation energy and you start doing something, you want to figure out ways to keep doing it or to wash all of the dishes because it's not as hard to keep going once you've started going. So you think about a match like it's just a match, and then you got activation energy, you light it, and then it's on fire and it's just chilling. So the other thing to keep in mind is that the activation energy to do 10 push-ups is not 10 times as much energy as doing 1 push-up. Once you get down and you do 1 push-up, like you're there. You might as well push yourself up again and do it again until your arms are like, yeah, that's enough. And what's really important we're going to talk about throughout tonight's class is setting up habits that are easy to do. Your habit should not be running for 60 minutes on a treadmill or biking 5 miles. Your habit should be running 1 mile on a treadmill, or 10 minutes, or doing 1 lap around the block. Set the habits to be really small, and then once you've activated it and you've started doing it, you can decide if you want to keep going. You also need to repeat new habits and new behaviors over and over again for them to become kind of subconscious habits that you're going to do on autopilot. And one of the, I don't know, simplest examples is like your stretching routine before you work out. Like I can, without thinking, just kind of stretch for 3 minutes and go through 4-way hips and get my body feeling good and ready to work out. But if you asked me to do like a brand new dynamic warm up or something that I've never done before, that's going to take a while. I might be a little awkward. I want to like watch other people do it and try to learn how to do it. By the 10th or 20th or 50th time, you've acquired it as a habit. And so I know y'all are getting ready for finals season. Procrastination may be coming up in your life from time to time. And so I want to encourage you to think about this concept of activation energy and know that, hey, once I start working or I start studying, or if you've got, raise your hand if you have a final paper or something you need to write for any of your classes. All right. Now keep your hand raised if you have opened a Word document and titled it and have it saved for that paper. All right, so your assignment tonight, as soon as class is over, is to open a Word document for each of those papers. Just give it a name, even the name of the class. You don't even know what the title of the paper is, and save it. All right, you are then 50% done each of those papers. You're welcome. You didn't realize you were going to finish 50% of your final papers right now, but you just did. All right, by having a document set up, you've created a place for you to store ideas. If you randomly, 2 days from now, have a thought, you can spend 5 minutes and type in an outline. Put some things down in there, or Google some stuff, put some links. It doesn't have to be even quarter baked, but you have a place saved where you know you're going to build this thing. And that is often one of the biggest barriers to getting started, is the amount of activation energy required of like, oh, I don't know where to like take my notes and what to do with it. And so there's this slope of procrastination because as Parkinson's law states, work expands to fit the allotted time you give it. So if you only have an hour left to study for a test, it's only going to take you an hour to study. I also made this pie chart about procrastination, but then I decided not to finish it. And so, thank you. My next graph here, we're looking at sustainability versus effort. There's a balance here between laziness and burnout. I'm not at all recommending you burn out, and this is why the habits you're going to build are not super strenuous and intense where you're going to be exhausted. They're little things. They're like micro habits that you can stack on top of one another and do a whole series of habits in less than a half an hour. And there's that sweet spot of kind of long-term growth where you're getting better over time. And so I want to spend a minute here to talk about habit stacking. So this is a super powerful concept. It's very similar to compound interest, and the idea of getting like 1% better every day. You can do habit stacking by pairing things that you're already doing with new habits you're interested in test driving based on tonight's class. And so I'll encourage each of you to think about 1 to 5, or more if you want, but at least 1 to 5 new habits or things that you want to think about trying, and then think about what existing habits you have that you could tie them to. So raise your hand if you brushed your teeth this morning. Awesome, great. That's a habit you're already used to doing. Every day since you were born or had teeth, I don't know, when you start brushing your teeth, you know, oh, I wake up, I should go brush my teeth, all right? What you can do is think of another thing you want to do and do it while you're brushing your teeth. And the simplest one there is expressing gratitude or saying some affirmations. Water break. And so everything you do from the moment you wake up is creating energy around you, and what you're putting out to the universe, you're also attracting back towards you. So if tomorrow morning when you wake up and brush your teeth, you spend 30 seconds saying some positive affirmations that, oh, I look great today, or oh, I'm really grateful we still have toothpaste, and I'm grateful that there's cereal downstairs I can have for breakfast. What you're putting out to the universe, you're going to bring back towards you. And you can be thankful for the new day that you've got. You can be full of happiness and gratitude and thankful for your family, the air you're breathing, toothbrush, all of these things. You can have fun with it. And so these four are four of my favorite affirmations and something that I say every single morning. And it came from a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And Napoleon Hill mentioned these first three of I feel happy, and it makes me want to smile. When I say, oh, I do feel happy, I feel healthy, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I do. Even if I'm not feeling great, it reminds me I'm healthy, I'm grateful for that, I feel terrific. And a couple years ago, I told my dad about this, and he's like, oh, Mike, that's great, but you forgot the fourth affirmation. I was like, what's that, Dad? And he said, I feel loved. Whoa, that's really powerful, to remind yourself every morning that you feel loved. And the way our brain works, there's some chemicals back there called serotonin and oxytocin, which are like the happiness chemicals that your brain releases when it thinks about the love from your father, the love from your partner. I feel love for my nieces and nephews. These are things I think about every morning, and it gives my body a great rush. It helps wake me up, and then immediately, boom, jump in the cold shower. Let's go. Whew, the day gets started when you hop in that freezing cold shower. All right, this immediately wakes you up. There's a lot of benefits of cold showers I'm going to touch on a little later in the presentation, and I'm sharing this because I have habits stacked, brushing my teeth to affirmations to cold showers to then reading these books every day. And like that is my morning routine. I don't really ever miss it. And I've been reading, here I am right here. Props, like these things, they're great books. You can probably tell this one's a little beat up, and this Daily Stoic. I mean, I've been doing this for about 4 years now. Every single morning when I go on trips, these get packed in my bag. My wife gives me a hard time. Why's your bag so heavy? Well, I got these books I always want to carry with me. And wherever you go, you can start your day with both some leadership lessons from John Maxwell. Daily Stoic's all about stoicism. The only thing that you control is your own reasoned mind. Everything else that happens out there, it's out of your control. You can only control how you react to it, and whether that's positively or negatively. And I encourage positivity. And there's a third book here, The Greatest Salesman in the World. I just started reading this month. It was recommended to me by one of my mentors, said it changed his life. And it has like 10 scrolls of ancient wisdom in there. And as you get through the book, each scroll is like 3 to 5 pages long. And the first scroll was about developing the habit of putting this knowledge into your brain on a daily basis. And so it requires you to read the scroll every morning when you wake up. And thankfully, I already had this habit of reading other books, so it was easy to habit stack and add another book on top. Cool, no big deal. So I read this passage every morning, and then you read it again after your midday meal. And both those times are silently to yourself. And then the third thing that the scroll asks you to do is to read it one more time before bed. And this time, read it out loud. And I don't know when last time is you read something out loud, but it's a very different experience. Even if there's nobody else in the room, you are more deeply ingraining it into your subconscious. Obviously, your conscious mind is thinking about it, but the real value here is that your subconscious mind, the part that doesn't sleep, that plans what your dreams are, that is always kind of working underneath the surface, is taking in this information and helping you to be hopefully more successful and to eliminate failure. And so I'm only on the first scroll. There's 10 scrolls. You're supposed to do each one for 30 days. And on May 10th, I'm gonna jump to the second scroll and we'll go from there. I'm gonna do this for a year and see how it works to acquire what I believe to be pretty significant wisdom. And I know that my mentor has been super successful, and he's like, and he could quote verbatim one of the scrolls. I was like, sounds to me like this is pretty useful stuff. All right. My challenge is for you to wake up tomorrow and to not look at a single app on your phone for at least 60 minutes. No social media, no emails. There's literally nothing on your phone that needs your time and attention in the first hour you wake up. All of this anxiety that floods into your brain about gossip and family members complaining you didn't do certain things and appointments or papers or whatever it is. I strongly encourage you to create space in the morning where you are not attached to your phone. And we're going to go over a variety of different habits that people want to reduce and spend less time doing. And I encourage you to do more things that make you forget to check your phone. There's a whole universe out here. I know we got to spend a lot of time in Zoom world, but really, really find time throughout each day when you're not glued to that thing. Here's another great affirmation I recommend throughout the day. This is when I started maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was coaching the Georgetown Ultimate Frisbee team. And so we'd play for like 8 hours on a Saturday, a lot of points in 4 games. A lot of those points the other team would score. And we had 90 seconds between each point. And so science has proven that when a bad thing happens, whether it's in sports or life, bad thing happens, your brain releases some chemicals, they go down your feet, they come back up. It takes 90 seconds for your body to fully process that negative event. If you are still upset more than 90 seconds later, it's your fault, because the story you're telling yourself about how you're a victim or how something bad happened or you're blaming somebody else, you can control and change that internal narrative and let go of that. And so what I would say in between points, I just kind of walk to the middle of the field, be like, dear God, this is all quiet. It's just to yourself. I'm grateful for the many wonderful blessings you've given me in life, including the opportunity to coach these young men and help them compete at the highest level. It's just a quick thing. It recenters me. There's probably a power position, arms in the air, opening yourself up, not being closed down and compressed, but recognizing something bad happened and I need to help my body physiologically and mentally rebound and bounce back like a tennis ball. Because how you do anything is actually how you do everything. And you got to break bad habits to build good habits. You can't just stop bad habits and not do anything else instead. You need to proactively think about things you want to amplify or new habits you want to adopt in the place of the thing you were doing. So like, let's say you used to do, actually, we'll get to this one. And I'd love in about 30 seconds for 3 of you all to volunteer a bad habit, whether it's one on here or another one you're thinking of that you want to put out to the class and the universe that, hey, you're going to work on reducing. One example is eating too much and kind of nervous eating. When you get nervous or anxious or you don't know how to solve something, you just like keep reaching for the food. Simple way to replace that, chew gum. All right, it's a similar exercise. Your mouth wants to chew something. There's a level of oral fixation in there. Same thing works for smoking. Hope you don't smoke. If you do, quit. And if you need help, they make Nicorette gum and things like that you can do, to replace these bad habits. So I'm curious, does anybody in class have a bad habit they want to share that they're going to work on getting better at over the next month? Kate, what you got?
I was actually doing it right now, but it's not that bad of a habit. It just bugs me to see it, but I always like play with the ends of my hair, like when I'm listening to someone or something. And like it frustrates me to no end because people have like called me out on it. So I definitely want to work on that.
Cool. So one quick thought is to find something else for your hands to do. And
Yeah.
maybe it's put them together. Maybe it's like rubbing, on your thighs. Like I said, there's some sort of tactile stimulation because I think part of that is what your brain is seeking. So those are just a couple ideas. Clara, how about you?
One habit I have is it's a posture thing. So when I look at the computer, I always like lean back and then like tilt my neck forward, which is really bad for your neck. I'm sure I'll have issues for it. Like I'm doing it right now. I need to get up. So yeah. Just watching my posture.
Nice. And how about you?
I got one. I
Okay.
I know I spend way too much time on Instagram Explorer, and it's like I don't even like realize I just end up back on there. Like I don't remember clicking into it. It's just like I'm on the feed and then I'm in Explorer,
Yep.
But yeah.
So one thought there is to pick specific times in the day when you will use Instagram, and anytime outside of that window. You can even go so far as like deleting the app from your phone, or like you have to log into a web browser, which makes there be more friction and more activation energy.
I just go to bed like too late, and I try to like change that, especially like after we moved to online. I've been going to bed like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. all the time. I'm trying to like change that. Yeah, probably a bad habit. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna show you later what Mark Wahlberg's schedule is, and I'll try to get you more on his schedule. Leanna?
Oh, I think probably one of my biggest habits is I get really like major anxiety over checking my emails. So like always constantly be like opening up Gmail and looking like every 30 minutes or so. So that's something I definitely need to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to help with that is coming up with boundaries and like setting boundaries in your day-to-day life. And you are all living in strange settings that, is not the normal end of college spring semester setting, but these habits that you create and get used to, and like with checking emails, one first thing you can do is turn off the notifications on your phone so it doesn't have the little red dot. Because I don't know if you all are like me, but there's a level of OCD of like, oh, there's a notification, I need to check it, I need to make sure it's all good. But pick a time, maybe it's 8 p.m., like after 8 p.m. or after 9 or 10, you don't need to check your emails. And you don't need to check it the first thing in the morning, because then you're letting somebody else kind of commandeer your thoughts and focus, especially in the morning when you're sharpest. There's lots of different things you can do. You can go work out, you can meditate, you can read a book, you can drink some alcohol, have a giant sub and a soda. I don't know, that guy's belly looks pretty big. I don't think that's the one we're looking for here. So when you change your habits, you change your life. And motivation is what will get you started. Habit is what will keep you going. It's so good every time, so refreshing. The very first thing I do every morning, drink that big glass of water. And the last thing before bed is have a glass of water, fill it back up. So making sure you're getting enough water, and then you can make your bed. Cody, I'm gonna pass it over to you here for a minute. Can you tell us anything you learned about making your bed and why that's important?
Yeah, so this is the book that I did on the book report. And essentially, like, the author, who was an admiral in the Navy, who was a Navy SEAL for 36 years, says that if you just make your bed, even if you have like the shittiest day possible, you can come home and have completed at least one task. And you come home to like a nicely made bed to go to sleep.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a great keystone habit, a simple thing you can do in the morning. And it also gets you used to leaving a room perhaps better than you found it, and not leaving things disheveled or unorganized. Because if you do it with your bed, maybe you do it with your work assignments, maybe you do it with other chores, maybe you do it with relationships, and it's a pattern that can cascade through your life. So another habit you can adopt. You guys know why 9/29 is such a great time? Because my birthday's September 29th. Every day when you see 9/29 on the clock, I'm like, oh, happy birthday, Mike. This is awesome. All right, I'm gonna spend 60 seconds, maybe even 2 whole minutes if I catch it morning and at night. So just a little fun mental hack. Think about, I'm sorry for the, February through maybe May or June kids, you're only gonna see it once a day. But if you've got a fall baby, you probably get it twice a day. And finding, a minute or two just to take a moment and appreciate yourself. There's some gratitude in there, and enjoy it. Another life hack here is anytime you take the trash out, and I know most of you live at home with mom and dad, so you should be taking the trash out pretty consistently now, put a new bag in the trash can as soon as you take the old one out. And the advanced hack here is that next time you take the trash out, bring 3 trash bags, stuff 2 of them underneath it there, put the 3rd one in. So next time you just pull a trash bag out, you got the refill right there, you put it in, you can take the trash out. And this is similar to making your bed, in which it is getting your brain used to not only finishing tasks, but setting the environment up for future success, for future you and future family members and other people. And it's the little things, but let's say you don't put a new trash bag, and then 2 hours later you blow your nose and it's kind of disgusting, and you got to throw it in a trash can that doesn't have a trash bag, and somebody's got to touch that. Like, there are downstream negative consequences from not completing tasks and seeing it through all the way. Another example of this is doing the dishes. Every night, can you go to bed with a clean kitchen? And one of the reasons to do this is that it doesn't take a lot of mental energy or effort to wash dishes. However, in the morning, you wake up, you're full of energy, you're raring to go. If you got to spend 5 to 15 minutes doing dishes, if the coffee maker still got stale coffee from yesterday, you didn't rinse it out and get it ready for today. Tino, you got a question? You're on mute.
Here we go. I've actually got a point on that, on the washing dishes thing. I read a very interesting article by it's a very much Buddhist monk called Thich Nhat Hanh, who kind of goes over the importance of kind of taking these things that you do every day as moments of kind of stillness. So like saying that when you're washing the dishes, wash the dishes well by only washing dishes and not thinking about other things you could be doing. be in the present, being the kind of in the moment, and learn from that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a phenomenal way of looking at it and being mindful. You know, similar thing last night. My wife and I made popcorn and put some olive oil in a pan, and we put 3 kernels in there. And you may have noticed there's no sports. There's really nothing to bet on at this point in time. So we had a friendly wager about which popcorn kernel was going to pop first. And it ended up taking about 4 minutes of very mindfully watching popcorn kernels. But I enjoyed it. It was a meditative exercise. It wasn't anything else I had to be doing. You know, this is a simpler time we're living in. So being present is important. All right, so we got this 10 by 10 by 10 challenge. Try waking up at the same time consistently. You know, if you're varying widely from an 8 a.m. wake up to a noon wake up, you know, it's hard for your body to know, hey, what is that time? I recommend whatever time you go to bed, wake up 8 hours later, and just get your body used to kind of 4 full sleep cycles. Dress professional, that means putting on pants. It's a requirement. Exercise for 10 minutes. That can be as simple as stretching or doing some push-ups or sit-ups. We'll get to in a little bit kind of the 10 pillars of life and habits that you can adapt for daily practice. Boom. All right. Math right here. This is how you exponentially get better by getting 1% better each day. Not a 10% improvement, not a 5%, just 1%. And by setting up a minimum acceptable day, which is kind of the low bar, the baseline we want to get you over, if you do that every day for a year, you will be 37 times as good 1 year from now. Not 370%, 3,700% increase. So Albert Einstein said that the 8th wonder of the world is compound interest. And whether or not you're that familiar with it, simple formula right here, the most important thing is the rate. And that as you have some money, it gets more money. That more money also gets more money. It grows over and over and over. And that's how the rich get rich and rich and richer. And that's also how your skills and strengths can get much, much better over time as you develop habits to improve them. All right, we got Jerry Seinfeld here. He's got this awesome method. It's all about not breaking the chain. And so Jerry Seinfeld, one of the funniest guys ever, he has a habit of getting a big old wall calendar, put it on the wall, and every single day when he writes one joke, not 10 jokes, not a whole stand-up, not a whole episode of Seinfeld, he writes one joke, he puts an X on that day. So what happens is after a few days, a couple of weeks, you don't want to break the chain. You have leveraged lots of activation energy. You've got this momentum. You are going strong on whatever these new habits are. You want to keep going. So having a visual, non-technology related way to document this is super powerful and encourage you to keep the momentum. And so your minimum acceptable day is not what's this like really high, hard thing, you know, running 5 miles or biking or triathlon, whatever it is. Not. What's it like to just put on your shoes and go run around the block once? If you want to keep going, great. You know, and if it's raining, maybe you just go around the block and you come back. So thinking about what's one step you can make each day in each of the 10 pillars of life. And so the reasons this works is that every day you're moving forward, it doesn't require any willpower, and it's actually tricking you into developing and building these good habits. And a bunch of X's look cool. I mean, if you see that, you're like, whoa, look at all these X's, I did stuff. You feel good. You're not measuring the gap of like what's in front of you and this like really high aspirational thing. You're actually looking behind you and measuring how far you've come and seeing that, hey, I did this for 17 days in a row. I can do this for an 18th day, even if I'm tired, if I don't feel like it. And the only real reason it fails is if you're too ambitious, you set too high of a bar, you don't get into the wall calendar thing, or God forbid, your marker runs out of marker ink. And so remember, you don't want super high habits and things you're trying to do. You just want to get started. You want to make it easy to do in a couple of minutes or less each day. So here's the difference between minimal versus typical habits. The top one is just a little bit each day. You know, maybe it's writing, you know, 100 words or 500 words if you want to be a writer. Or maybe it's, you know, doing 10 push-ups instead of 1,000 push-ups each day. Whereas other people who try to do super big things, oh yeah, I did, oh I missed a day, it's like, oh super, eventually that fizzles out and you don't have the momentum to keep the habit going. So early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Boom, we got Mark Wahlberg in the house. So instead of going to bed at 2 in the morning, this man wakes up at 2:30 in the morning to get his like 2-hour workout going on. Mark Wahlberg, grown man, wife, kids, very successful actor, has a self-appointed 7:30 p.m. bedtime. What? Because he goes to bed at 7:30, he can get up so early. Look at all that stuff he's doing before you even hit the snooze button for the first time. I don't necessarily spend any time in a cryo chamber recovery, but if you're Mark Wahlberg, you can afford one of those. Maybe that's my cold shower I'm doing in 60 seconds instead of 60 minutes. But thinking about, hey, that's what somebody massively successful schedule looks like. Your schedule doesn't have to look like everybody else's if you don't want to turn out like everybody else. All right, so for physical habits, thinking about a daily workout, what are some things you can do to get your body moving? How can you sleep 8 hours? Reduce intake of alcohol. It's not good for you. It messes with your sleep schedule. Whether or not you have an adorable cat like that, you should take a nap. I'm a huge fan of the afternoon nap. Like you'll hit a lull somewhere between 2 to 5, take 20 to 30 minutes, recharge, and stop touching your phone before bed. I cannot stress this enough. Like your sleep cycles get messed up so badly when you're laying in bed just scrolling through Instagram, exploring new things, getting 50 different random images into your subconscious right before you're supposed to be quieting yourself down and relaxing into sleep. Like maybe washing some dishes, like with no mental effort besides being like, I'm just gonna wash some dishes, is a better way to get ready for bed. Like pick out the clothes you wanna wear tomorrow. Get like an actual book and just read that as opposed to being on technology. There's also a lot of science behind the blue light that messes up your circadian rhythm. I'm a huge fan of blue light filtering glasses. I've got these I wear during the day, and then I have these that have extra blue light filtering for like after 8 p.m. Knowing that if I'm looking at screens, which we're doing all day, or watching Netflix, whatever it is, you want to take care of your body. And like I said, there's so many benefits of the cold showers. It's improving your circulation, it's elevating your mood, it makes you a legit badass, and it conserves energy, both for you and for the water, because cold showers don't last more than a minute or two, so you're in and out pretty quick. There are benefits of taking hot or warm showers. I recommend you save them for after a workout or in the evening time. It can help reduce anxiety, act as a nasal decongestant, and things like that. All right, so emotional habits. And pardon my French. This comes from this book called It Takes What It Takes. This was written by Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson's mental coach. So he has a coach whose entire job is just to help his mental game. And this guy, Trevor Moawad, he's worked with 6 of the past 10 college football national championship teams. So we're talking Alabama, Clemson, Florida State. Like he's worked with the best college athletes. The number one lesson he teaches the first day he comes in training camp: stop saying stupid shit out loud. Like you're gonna have dumb thoughts. Doesn't mean you have to share them. Don't tell your teammates, all right? Don't be heckling people or chirping at them. I hate when people are chirping at people, all right? You don't need to gossip or like if you have a really dumb, stupid idea, keep it to yourself. Hopefully you don't do it, but if you do it, don't drag other people into it too. All right. So for positive emotional habits, you can cut out the people that are dragging you down. Find ways to help your friends, your family. Most of you live at home with your parents. Like take care of them. Do they need help with the dishes or the trash? Focus on what you have and what you can do, and turn off the news. Get out of social media, things like that. Affirmations we talked about a little bit earlier. There's a few more examples here, and I will share all the slides with you afterwards. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the appendix that I didn't have time to get to. And dump out that social media, right? You don't need to have it on your phone. Maybe you make it for a few days, you only check on your computer, or you delete the apps and you got to go through Safari or Chrome on your phone to log in that way. And what you're doing is you're designing your environment in a way that creates more friction to do bad habits you want to reduce. And hopefully you're also finding ways to make it easier to do good habits. All right, so we're jumping to mental here. We're hanging out with our friend James Altucher. The semester has come full circle here as we started with the whole 10 ideas a day concept from James. he's also got a great list of 20 habits of eventual millionaires. I've had this thing printed out and taped on the inside of my bookshelf at work for like 3 years. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, yeah, these are things that I want to do. I'm a Henry, I'm a high earner, not rich yet. By adopting some of these habits of people that, have 7 income streams. The average millionaire has 7 income streams. So don't think about what's 1 or 2 things you're going to do to make money. What are a whole collection or portfolio of ways to generate revenue. Another way to boost your mental muscles each day, read a book. Pick 25 minutes, carve out a good book. One thing you can do before bed is put a book you want to read out on the couch or the end table, so you get up in the morning, don't have to check your phone, just go enjoy some time reading the book. For the past couple of weeks, I've been reading at least 60 minutes a day every morning before diving into my phone or emails or work. Make some tea, have some breakfast if you want, and enjoy that part of your day before it gets overwhelmed with notifications and alarms and to-do lists and other people's demands. I think we talked earlier in the semester about the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, maybe 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off. It's a phenomenal way to help your brain focus, especially if you have your phone out and just put a timer on for 25 minutes. When it beeps, okay, time to get up. I'm gonna walk around, I'm gonna take a break. And then come back. You can do whatever you want. You can go on social media, play games, talk to people, have a snack, whatever it is. But this is also very, very helpful when you're studying. It's not that effective to study for 7 straight hours. You need to stretch, think about other things, unless your subconscious kind of digest and process the things you've been learning. And so I got a few tips here to reduce racing thoughts at night. So first thing is identify what stresses you out. If you have a hard time falling asleep, you're laying in bed, you're like, what's going on? I keep thinking about this thing. Write it down in your field notes book. Hopefully you all still got some notebooks, put it on your nightstand. Once you name the thing that is stressing you and worrying you and get it out of your head, your brain's like, okay, I don't have to think about that. Future you tomorrow, she's gonna deal with it. You can also deliberately spend time before bed decompressing, so you're not laying in bed on your phone. You're, I would hope, not watching TV in your bedroom. You don't have your laptop in bed. Your bed is a place to sleep. Any technology or electronics or content you want to consume besides a paper book should be done in a different room. And that helps your brain recognize, oh, I'm coming here to go to bed now. So some spiritual habits. I'll leave it up to you to figure out how you want to incorporate spirituality into your life. I will say that if prayer is talking to God, then intuition is God talking to you. So be open to your intuition. There's some links here to, it's a book on 21 ways to spark intuition in 21 days. And has some great ideas about how you can be a little bit more intuitive and tap into that part of your consciousness. Family habits. So you are all members of a modern family, and I encourage you to FaceTime with your loved ones. You're living with some of them, but I'm sure you've got siblings or aunts and uncles, cousins, folks to FaceTime with, and just enjoy seeing them and create that connection. Maybe you go out for a little picnic. Maybe you go for a walk with the dog. Perhaps you set up a family game night. I am sure as an 18 to 21-year-olds, you're not thrilled to be back at mom and dad's house all the time, but make the most of it. They love you. They've done a lot to take care of you, and cherish it because they're not going to be around forever. So, value this time and find some ways to either do some childhood habits you used to have as a family, or maybe make some new traditions and things that are fun. And so by putting first things first, you'll also have some moral authority around your loved ones. And moral authority comes from following universal and timeless principles like honesty, integrity, treating people with respect. If your family starts to notice that you're helping out more around the house, you are taking the trash out without being asked and not complaining about doing the dishes, then they're not going to give you as much a hard time about some other stuff. You have more leverage and moral authority, quite honestly. As Stephen Covey wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, when people see you're doing a lot of good actions and behaving in the right way, they'll give you more credit and slack and freedom, which I'm sure is not something you have enough of sometimes to keep going. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up in the next few minutes here. We've got some relationship habits. Interact positively, and I mean net positive for you and net positive for them. Aren't those the best interactions when you leave the conversation feeling energized and they also leave the conversation feeling energized? Compliment somebody's wardrobe. Everybody likes to hear that they look nice. Give a deposit into a relationship bank. If you read an interesting article, share it with somebody. Tino, I'd love to read the article you mentioned earlier about that monk whose name I can't pronounce. Sounds good. And then also, it's a little hard in today's society, but go on at least one dinner date a month. And I'm going to encourage you to do this for the rest of your life. You have plenty of time to experience dating, and I encourage you to experience lots of first dates. And they don't have to go well, but you do get to practice what it's like to share a meal of food with somebody you may or may not be romantically interested in, and to hold a conversation for an hour or two. You might even be able to do it over Zoom or Skype or something. And what it means is when you finally do meet an amazing person that you want to marry and spend the rest of your life with, you've got some reps and practice and developed that skill, because once you get married, you have every single meal together, and it's wonderful and amazing, especially when your partner is a great cook. So next up, we got Robin Sharma. He is like a guru, very successful businessman. And the point I want to make here is that you're going to go through hardships and difficulties and quote unquote storms as you attain rare and valuable skills. You acquire these habits, you start practicing. It's hard. All right, getting new habits isn't easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. You're going to have to push through some discomfort. That's part of what makes you stronger. And Robin Sharma has this phenomenal concept of using joy as a GPS. I think most of us know what it's like when you experience joy. You're happy. I think there's 3 levels. There's happiness, joy, and bliss. Bliss is like the best. Joy is pretty good. If you've ever seen, what's that Disney movie, Martina, with the emotions? Inside Out, joy. Imagine she's your internal GPS, and wherever joy wants to go, do those things. What activities bring you joy? What people bring you joy? What environments bring you joy? How can you navigate yourself to more and more joy? And then Robin Sharma also has a trinity of vitality to protect your energy. So there's stretching and weight training. He's also a big fan of working out after you finish your workday. To like let go of all that stress and meetings and schoolwork, whatever it is, and like sweat it out. Good nutrition, eat healthy, hydration is a process. And everybody needs recovery. So I want to briefly touch on this, that any habit or skill or thing you're stretching, you're working out, or even interacting with people emotionally that may have drained you, you need to recover from that. So it's stress, rest, recover. Stress, rest, recover. Make sure you have that recovery loop. So both physically, mentally, emotionally, you're able to recover from things. And last but not least, on the relationship pillar, send handwritten thank you notes. They're great. I have a stack of them I keep in my briefcase. And I send them out to people when they do things to help, like if they guest lecture in class, things like that. Very good. Business habits, there's a bunch of stuff here. I kind of phoned this one in. Simplest form, like pick up the phone and make a call. Try to take some activity to move forward in your business. What's something you can do every day? Y'all don't necessarily all have businesses at this exact moment, but as you're thinking about ideas and social entrepreneurship, what's one small thing you can do each day to talk to it? Like do one customer discovery interview, for example. Adventure habits, this is some of my favorite, to go out and explore the world. Find some novelty in nature. If you're going out for a run or a walk with the dog, take a different path. Turn left instead of right where you normally do, get lost. Just explore. And for like 10 years, I've had this as a daily habit of going on an adventure every day. Find something adventurous, you can define it however you want, to usually ends up sparking some joy. Then we've got financial habits. So check your bank statement. Be aware and in the know of how much money you've got. I know we all sometimes get that fear of, oh, I spent a bunch of money. I don't want to check how much it is for a week or two. And then you get all these $35 overdraft fees that end up costing more money. So be aware. And we've talked a little bit at the beginning of the semester about having a monthly budget. Put together some great advice on investing. That's hyperlinked there. It's also in the Google Drive for the class. I recommend everybody spend some time and look at some of that advice on how you think about money. Your relationship with money is usually not very good, and it's usually based on some childhood traumas or experiences with parents and how money was talked about or viewed in your household. And there's things you can do to kind of be on a path to financial peace. The very first thing I recommend is to get $1,000 in a savings account. So hopefully most of you are gonna be able to get some sort of summer job or income coming in. Have $1,000 in savings. That's your emergency fund if you need, to get your car fixed or something happens, hey, you've got that covered. I'm also a huge fan in terms of karma in the universe. Like anytime a homeless person or somebody asks you for $1, give them $1. Just pull out whatever the front bill, the lowest denomination is from your wallet, give it to them. And by giving, I guarantee you will receive even more. So environmental habits, design your environment so that you're setting yourself up for success. Like, I don't know who has an arm that's actually that long, but look how many delicious treats and snacks this dude has to avoid before he gets to a healthy apple. So instead of having all of the bad things or the less healthy or the, like the ice cream in the front of the freezer, like put it in the back. Put healthy things closer by to encourage yourself to eat them and to need less activation energy. All right, so we got 2 slides left here. This is the components of a deep life. Comes from Professor Cal Newport. He's a computer science professor at Georgetown, was one of my professors when I was in grad school. So he comes up with this concept that there's 4 core areas of craft, community, contemplation, and constitution. And in each area, you can pick 1 or 2 things that you want to amplify. And I call these good habits you want to amplify, whether you're starting them from scratch or you've been okay at them and you want to become better at them. Jot those down as things you want to amplify. And then what are the things you want to reduce? And, this is just an example, but some of you mentioned earlier on things you want to reduce, whether it's, going to bed earlier, not being on your phone or Instagram as much, even the posture in which you sit. How can you reduce those? And what are even reminders or like nudges you can set up in your environment to remember what you want to be doing and not doing? Does that make sense? All right. Make decisions to benefit future yous. And that's plural because there are many, many future iterations of each of you. And if you've seen the Back to the Future movies with Marty McFly, there's this whole premise of like, if future Marty goes back in time and sees past Marty, then the universe is going to explode. All right. Turns out that's not actually how it works with the time-space continuum. And there's this whole spectrum of universes where you're going to exist. And the more that present you can actually have a conversation with future you and with past you and think about what decision you should make what have you learned from past experiences? And when you had a similar decision you could make either 10 minutes or 10 days, 10 months, or 10 years ago, how did you feel after you made that decision? And then thinking about, as you're evaluating a decision, how will you feel in 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 months, or 10 years? And use that to inform your decision-making. And this ties back to Jerry Seinfeld because he's got this whole concept of night Jerry and morning Jerry. And morning Jerry says that night Jerry's a jerk because night Jerry's always staying up late till 2 in the morning and going to comedy shows and having an extra drink late and not getting much sleep. And morning Jerry's always tired and groggy and not able to be as effective because of the decisions he made in the past. So as you're thinking about habits and how you design your environment and what you can do, not only to be more productive in the short term over the next day or week or next 30 days, like some of the habits you can adopt during this strange hibernation phase of life will literally ripple through your entire life and can have massive, incredible compound interest returns. Like my habit of reading these 2 books every day, it's been 4+ years. Like it is such a great grounding part of my routine and something that helps me mentally kind of be conditioned for the day ahead. And drinking water, it's so good. And so with that, that brings us to an end of class.